everyone, this is Nikki. I'm so glad to be back with you today, and I'm really excited to be part of the Stamptember release for Simon Says Stamp this year. I have one set, the circle sayings, that I'm going to be using. We're going to be doing some inlaid die cutting, and I do this a little differently than other people I've noticed, but I feel like it makes it easier, so I wanted to share 3 tips I had for that with you and see what you think about it. Of course, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll get right into this video. I chose this PinkFresh die because it had this center circle, and I noticed that this center circle fits perfectly with these circle sayings. So this is a great die to use along with this Simon Says stamp set. So I'm going to create our base, which right now you'll see that I'm attaching this to white paper. We're going to use white as the base. And the way that I do my base, instead of having a solid piece, I go on and I emboss this piece. So I use a die to emboss, and you can do this pretty easy with Spellbinders. I'm going to pop up the sandwich that I used. You can also do this with any die cutting machine. I just happen to use Spellbinders when I'm embossing a die. It seems easier for me. So this, it does not have to be perfect. You can see that in some of the places I may have embossed a little too hard and kind of messed up the paper some, but you're basically just using this to put your pieces together. So this is going to be my base, and I'm going to attach my pieces here. So with the actual die, what I did is I added a double-sided adhesive, and then this top layer is the cut die, and then we're going to put the puzzle pieces together. You will notice I took a lot of care to keep that die from falling apart because we want those pieces in order. I'm going to go ahead and adhere the embossed piece that I've cut the edges of, and I'm going to adhere it on another base. You don't have to do that. I just like that extra sturdiness. I love my cards to be super thick and sturdy. So I'm going to adhere this, and then we are going to start pulling those pieces of the puzzle out and using them on this. I'm going to reassemble this on my mat in the exact same order, and that may seem kind of silly, but on most dies when I'm inlaid die cutting, they are slightly different, and so you want to keep them in order to make sure everything fits the way that it should. And you can see I've got that two-sided adhesive or double-sided adhesive on the back of these, so you will see that I'm just carefully keeping the adhesive on them so that I'll have that ready to stick down to that embossed base. So think of this as a puzzle. You need all your puzzle pieces in order. You need your puzzle pieces to have their adhesive stuck down on the back so they're not sticking to your mat and you can't get them off. And then they already have the adhesive, so you don't have to apply it, and you can quickly do your entire thing here. So this all kind of came off in one sheet, which is really nice because it keeps everything together. It is a little bit of a sticky mess sometimes when you're dealing with double-sided adhesive, but I find this is much quicker than trying to glue each piece down. Now I'm going to get this piece that has the outline, and I'm going to go ahead and stick this down to my embossed piece. You will see that really makes this easy because you can line it up with those pieces that are sticking up. I also think embossing your piece beforehand gives you even more dimension because it's going to make your pieces stick up just a little bit more. Now, if you want your inlaid pieces to be lower down or the exact same level as this background, then that's fine. Mine will be ever so slightly raised, and I just really love that look. My third tip for inlaid die cutting is not to die cut out of colored cardstock. And so you see I've got this white here. I'm going to use Catherine Pooler inks in Spring Fling, and I'm going to use those and color each piece individually. And by color, I really just mean kind of lay the stamp pad down on it and get it some color. You could ink blend these, you could Copic color these. There's a lot of different options, but this is a way that I feel like I don't waste as much paper, because when I cut these out of colored cardstock, I've got so many different ones that sometimes I feel like I'm just wasting the paper. I know you may not be able to see all of these colors, and that's perfectly fine because I'm going to list them in the description with links to all of this, and I will also put a little title up each time I use a color. Now I picked 6 colors because on this Sunburst there are 18 rays, so that gives you 3 colors, 3 of the same, so it just makes it even. You know, if you've got 6, it goes into 18 3 times, so you've got 3 of each color on this piece, which I feel like is a good number. You could spread it out more if you wanted to, but that to me is a great repeating pattern and I really like it. I'm going to start with It's a Girl, and you see that I've just got it face up and I'm sticking my ink pad down to it. So the way that these inks work, you can really saturate this as much as you want. Yes, you're going to get inky. You could use something like tweezers, but I felt like I would miss a spot if I did that, so I just kind of stamped it all over. You could also use some type of ink blending brush and have it go on there. I just wanted these to be really bright, and I like how bright and intense these are when you stamp them directly. So once you've got enough color down there, then you can set it aside and let it dry. Now once I get to the pieces that fit on my little mini ink pads, I'm just going to lay them directly on there and kind of press them down into the ink. But since I have the mini ink pads, not all of these pieces would fit like this, so that's why I didn't do it for all of them. But this, it goes a lot faster. If you had the full size, it would be a lot easier to do this project. So one thing I want to say is I'm going to list in the next title all of these colors, but like I said before, they are all in the description and they do have affiliate links associated with them, so make sure that you click through those if you're planning on going shopping today, and we'll get right on to the rest of this card. Here are how all those colors look. So I've got these back here, they're all dry. Now I'm going to add a little bit of extra excitement to these. So I'm going to use some water and some metallic watercolor to add some splatters on this. This ink is reactive to water, meaning that it will kind of lighten where you drop the droplets of water, and I do think that just gives it some good dimension. So I'm going to let this dry and then we'll move to the metallic watercolor. I'm using the Altenew metallic watercolor pan. I really like this color of gold right here that I'm dealing with. I'm going to add this because it looks really good with the Ranger gold embossing powder that I'm going to use. They're very similar colors, so they really complement each other. So I'm just going to go through and add these splatters, and the reason I haven't put the card together yet and I'm adding splatters now is because I want the center of this Sunburst to stay pure white. If I had this all assembled and I went back and did my splatters, then it would be all over the front of the card, and I think it gives it a very defined look to have that outline just plain white, no splatters on it. So that's why I'm doing it this way, and it also allows these some time to dry so that I get them good and stuck down to the card and I don't have any warping. While I'm waiting on those pieces to dry, I'm going to go ahead and use some Versamark ink, and we're going to stamp the new Happy Birthday from Circle Sayings on the center. I'm using Ranger Gold Embossing Powder, and I used a sticky mat on my Misty so that I didn't have to use any magnets to hold this down, especially when you have a little area that you're stamping on and you don't want that to interfere. Sometimes it's hard to get the stamp all the way down with the magnets. I'm also using a paintbrush that I have dedicated only to embossing powder just to dust off those little pieces because I want this to be a crisp white with no little specks of embossing powder anywhere, and I'm going to put this in the center of my card. Okay, so I'm going to assemble this. I sped this up quite a bit, but you can see you have these areas. It's very easy to line up your pieces, especially with that double-sided adhesive on the back. I've also kept my pieces in order. I hope you can see that cute gold and those splatter effects on these. I think it just looks amazing. I love rainbows. I'm sure all of you do too, but I think this just came together so great. So remember, everything that I've used is linked in the description. This new sayings, these circle sayings, are part of the new Stamptember release, which is very exciting. There will be a coupon code in the description, so make sure you check that out. It helps with Stamptember and you'll have lots of fun with it, I promise. Now I have this centerpiece here, and I didn't pop this up much because I wanted it to kind of make sense with everything else. So I just put it down. It's very easy to line up because you've already got your circle right there, and it's got double-sided adhesive on the back just like the rest of the card. So I went on and did that. I love that beautiful gold splatter, but decided I need to make sure and put some extra gold sequins on here. You know, there can never be too much bling on a card, I don't think. So we're gonna add some gold sequins, and that will finish off the card. So let's review those 3 tips for inlaid die cutting. This is something that a lot of people feel is complicated, and so I wanted to show you a different way to do it. So number 1, emboss a piece with whatever die you're going to be using. So emboss that piece, use double-sided adhesive on the piece that you are going to cut out and place inside of or on top of the embossed pieces. So you really want to add some double-sided adhesive. Be generous with that so that you get it everywhere. And then last of all, instead of using colored cardstock, what about coloring your pieces? I don't know if you would be able to tell that these are not cardstock pieces, but it does save you a lot of paper and a lot of work if you're going to just color the pieces. And I think that really makes a difference. All right, here are the final cards. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for being with me today. Make sure if you hadn't done it yet that you hit the subscribe and like button, and all of the information will be listed in the description below. Have a great day. Bye.